exercise is more for, or as much for, your mental health, I think, that it is for your body.
Yeah, beyond how your body looks or what you want it to look like or any of those things or what it's going to do just for you physically or if you want to manage your weight, whatever it is, what it does for you emotionally and even for your brain health. I mean, one of the most important things you can do for brain health is to move your body every day. Yeah. And that could just be a 10, 15-minute walk, but honestly, that has such a big impact.
Bonus points if you lift weights as a midlife woman,
yes.
because we want to develop lean muscle mass, and it gets harder to do as we get older. It just does.
Absolutely.
Fortunately, but the more muscle that you carry, the higher your metabolism, the better your metabolism, the more you're going to, balance your blood sugar.
Yep.
And by the way, the more you can eat. Mm-hmm. You can, when you are building muscle, when you're breaking down muscle.
I like how you whispered that.
I know, because it's a secret. I'm not telling you to overeat, but you can, when you're lifting weights, you're in that anabolic state where you're breaking down and building back up. And that takes a lot of energy. So you get to eat a little bit more to support that. Hopefully that's more protein. And it's balanced with some carbohydrate, but when, that's what stimulates your metabolism.
Right. So Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Life After Kids with Drs. Brooke and Lynn. I'm Dr. Brooke.
And I'm Dr. Lynn.
And I really feel like a broken record. We're on day 3 of we have been talking and more talking, and I like to talk.
And you do like to talk, and I think the more we talk, the better we get. I mean, that's what I'm being hopeful for.
I hope so. And you're going to leave and go back home and need to hibernate in your house for a solid week.
A good 2 weeks, 10 days. All right. So today we are talking about finding purpose is a key topic. And we come back to it because it is so important in your life after kids. It is the reason why we're here. Really, it began this for us in this conversation and this journey we've been on. But something comes before that, because before you can get to finding purpose, you have to square away your emotional and your physical health.
Yeah.
Tell us why.
I know. It's such an important, it's maybe something that's not that sexy to talk about, but this is also a good time of the year to talk about it for the year's over. So it's when we start to focus back on these things. And here's the deal. You can search for more purpose and meaning in your life. You can start the new job. You can pick up a hobby. You can contribute. You can start volunteering. You can really work on yourself. Maybe you've taken the Life After Kids Purpose quiz, work with the Enneagram, talking to us live on the membership, in the membership community. Like, there are so many things that we can do to work on, but if you are not emotionally balanced and able to manage your stress, and you don't have the energy because you're not physically healthy to put the work that you need into it or to think clearly and to stay motivated and focused, you're not going to get as far as you could.
It's so true. I mean, you have to. So here, if you're listening to this, we both believe this, that everything happens for a reason. So if you're out there and you're cooking, or you're in your kitchen and you just got your AirPods on or whatever, and you just downloaded this. Maybe you listen to us every week. Maybe you just found this on a whim. Something we say today, driving in your car. Hopefully there's something that we're going to say that maybe you needed to hear. I like to think that, at least.
Yeah.
Okay. Can't promise that for you, but for somebody out there.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's not that sexy, but it is so important, because before you can get to all the good juice of life, you have to have the energy resources to get yourself there. And it really is what we look at with our hierarchy of needs as humans. Yeah. You have to, survival comes first, right? You have to feed yourself. You have to have shelter. You have to have, working your way up that list. You have to have love and feel love. And then you kind of get to that end of that triangle, so to speak, or the top of the hierarchy. And that's where that self-actualization and that purpose piece resides. But you can't get to the top unless you have the foundation of that triangle in place.
Agreed. That's a very good way to describe it and look at it. And I think early on, when we began Life After Kids, we talked far more, especially in our feeds and in our blog about, and even in the podcast, about emotional health and physical health. And that's sort of where, we have a lot of schooling and training. We're, chiropractors, health and wellness experts, very focused on nutrition and women's health. So we have a lot to say about that. But we sort of have really focused in on purpose because that's what you all are wanting to talk about. And that's what we want to talk about too, is
that's where we're at,
creating our best life.
Yeah,
and we're seeking more purpose. We're trying to become, we're not trying, we are becoming our best selves. We're doing that every day, and we're seeking the best for ourselves and writing a new chapter. But once again, if we don't have our physical health to do that, or if, the choices that we made today have led to a shorter life than we could have had, what's it all worth? And what's that? There's that quote that's like, I have a million dreams, but none of them matter. Like, none of them matter if I don't have my health. Like, there's something, you know what I'm saying? I can't recall it right now, but it's true.
I know. I mean, the sentiment is basically like you could have it all, but if you don't have your health, you have nothing.
Right.
And
here's the deal: we're all getting older, and there are things that are out of our control. We talk about this in all aspects of life. That could come to what's happening with our kids, with our circumstances, with loss. It can our health. There are some things that are out of our control. We can't do anything about our genetics, for example. So things come up, things happen. We live, unfortunately, in a toxic world. So sometimes our bodies get bogged down. We can't necessarily run away from that. But I'm here to tell you, if you don't know, there are things that you can absolutely 100% do and take action on to live as healthy and as long as possible.
Yes.
And then we can't, if we ignored this piece of living a meaningful life after kids, I think we'd be doing everyone a disservice.
Yeah, because you can't get to the fruit on top without the vine being strong.
Exactly.
Right?
I love that.
And just to recap, so I've got these steps written down, and I'm going to reverse this. So I have physiology first, and then comes safety. I think it's actually the opposite. I think the very bottom of the triangle, or the rung, so to speak, is safety. You have to be safe first. You have to know you're safe. You have to have, that means you have shelter. You have your basic needs being met.
Yep.
Right? Hopefully, if you're listening to this, most of you have met that need. Right? You're not in a place of absolute survival. If you are, there's ways to, focus there. Focus there first.
And you can be in absolute survival mode emotionally.
True.
So when you talk about safety, I would look at that from am I safe in my mind and in my body? Am I centered? Am I balanced?
Right. So, okay, let's separate that then. So physical safety, I think, comes first.
Yes.
And then I think physiology comes next. What's happening at a chemical cellular level? Energy resources, right? Like your hormones, which we're going to talk about. And then I think it gets to some of those emotional places. So we have to have those two things. Now, they play very much into each other.
Agreed.
But it's a chicken and the egg situation. We're just, for purposes here, we'll list them in this order. Then it comes to love and belonging. Then you have to feel love. You have to feel a part of community. You have to feel wanted, right? Yep. And you have to give that back. And then as we're climbing up, then it becomes about your self-esteem, your worthiness, your place in the world, your purpose. And then the very culmination of that is, like I said, that self-actualization. That's where you know yourself on such a deep level, and then you combine it with that place that you find for yourself, where it all comes together, and you're giving and you're receiving. And again, this is an ideal, but right, we're painting this picture of the absolute pinnacle, which not everybody will get there. Not all of us will get to that place, but we know what we're reaching for.
Right. And it's also the journey.
And
not
it's the journey.
Necessarily the end goal, but who you're becoming along the way.
Right. And if you're stuck at safety, and if you're stuck at physiology and you haven't moved past that, I just want you to know it's so worth it to put the time into helping your body along at this phase in your life, if only for the reason to get to the rest of the good layers.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, that's reason enough.
I absolutely know what you mean.
But there's so much that you'll get from.
And I'm so
taking
glad
care
you
of your
said
body.
that. And this, some of you may need to hear this, especially as we're coming to the end of the year, because a lot of us also feel overwhelmed in this phase of life because we just feel like such a tug for something, but there's just so many directions that we could go in, and it just feels like too much. And then sometimes we get like paralyzed and just do nothing. And it's okay to start with one thing. And I would tell you that as much as I want to tell you to go for it or grab onto the goal that's going to get you the new career, a job that you want, or the, finding something to do that's meaningful with your time or whatever that is, if you're not feeling great, if you're not feeling like your best self, and not even like that you need to, maybe you do need to go to a doctor and get blood work done if you haven't, but not even that you have like a diagnosis. I don't even mean that, but you're waking up tired, you're feeling blah, you're overstressed, you're drained, your hormones are imbalanced, then maybe as you head into this new year, before you start to work on yourself and what you want from life, what you need to do is start with getting yourself feeling better.
Yeah, I love that. That is the place to start, because if you're feeling tired, like you said, sick, drained, if you have pain, if you feel worried a lot, anxious, you won't be able to focus on much else. Your body won't have the resources to put it towards anything else. So start with your physical health.
And if you try to go right to bettering yourself and figuring out your purpose and your passions, you might just throw in the towel too early. You might be spinning the wheels.
I agree. And when you talk about overwhelm, that's another, physical health, unfortunately, is another place in fitness and health and wellness where people get overwhelmed.
Yes.
There's so much conflicting evidence out there. And I thank my lucky stars every day that I chose this as a vocation, because I can apply it for myself and my family's life, right? But I realize not everybody has that benefit, right? Everybody's chosen maybe a different path.
Right.
And so my advice to you on that, if health is not something that you work inside of, you may have to do more education. The more control you want regarding your health, the more education you're going to need to do, because the more of a self-advocate you're going to need to do. And there is no one authority out there, unfortunately. Not even in the what we would call the holistic space. We know this, right? There's some people we trust, and then there's some things they say that maybe we don't agree with.
Right.
So it's about seeking and finding, and there's not one source. I don't believe personally for any one person to be able to get all the health and wellness advice that they need
in one place. No, you have to look for it. And we have past episodes that you can refer to about finding the right holistic practitioner for you. I can link that in the show notes if you'd like to hear that. But we run through the various types of holistic healthcare practitioners that might be a benefit if you're thinking that you want to go down that road.
Okay, so in the interest of breaking it down and keeping it simple and reducing overwhelm, here's what I have as the two places to start with your physical health. Okay. One, decreasing blood sugar. I mean, there's a lot of ways we can approach this, but when I thought about this, I thought about the two biggest returns on investment, the two places that would impact the most, that have the deepest effect throughout. Okay.
I love that.
So the first is decreasing your blood sugar.
Yep.
And the reason why that is obviously because then that will also impact hormones.
Yep.
Blood sugar, insulin resistance is metabolic disease, metabolic syndrome, where you have like too much abdominal weight, you have the higher blood pressure, you have the increased blood sugar. I can't say enough bad things about sugar. I mean, we need a little bit, we need some carbs, don't get me wrong, but if you have a fasting blood sugar that's over 100, it's a good place to start. So get yourself a continuous blood sugar monitor. Mm-hmm. You can check in on that with your doctor. They can write a prescription for you, and you can check your blood sugar, and you can see the fluctuations and make changes there. That's my first place. Do you agree?
I think that's a good place to start, especially if you're somebody who is feels hungry all the time, that constantly needs a snack, that's hangry, right? That you get angry when you're hungry or feeling a little lightheaded. Those are all signs that your blood sugar is off. And if your blood sugar is off, you're not handling sugar well, you're probably eating too much. That's the root of inflammation, which is the root of all types of sickness in our bodies. And to your point, it also lends itself to an issue with your stress response, which can lead to problems with stress management and hormone imbalance. So I would say, yeah, I mean, that's I would say, yes, I like that you started there, but because we're all women and we're talking to women in midlife, it might be just checking in on your hormones too. I don't know, one of the two. But they play off of each other.
I think that blood sugar is foundational, because when I say your blood sugar, I'm also looking at, and again, no judgment, but what is your BMI? How much weight are you carrying in proportion to your frame? Those are very standardized things to look at, and you want to try to get it below into a certain range, because your overall health is going to improve if you move towards that healthier BMI range. And the first place to start with that is usually sugar, right? Because most of us are not eating enough protein and we're eating too much sugar. So the way that your body handles sugar is going to dictate how you metabolize.
Right.
So that's why I chose that. And then I think that it has a huge impact on hormones. Again, it could be a chicken and the egg, but do the hormones get out of whack, or is the diet, the sugar, the lack of movement, which we're going to talk about next, is that to blame for?
Well, a lot of issues. Practitioners that have their focus on hormone balance will say, if you want to balance your hormones, it's not going at the hormones themselves or necessarily HRT, but where you start is blood sugar balance and make sure that your liver is functioning well and you're detoxing. And if you get those two in place, then the hormones might fall into place.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah.
So the second place I have then, so lower blood sugar and then increase your movement. And these are both very doable things, but it may not be for you. So when I say that might sound really hard, but I believe in you. You can do it. And then make this your year. Make this your year that you start moving. And again, it doesn't have to look like CrossFit. Sometimes we go and we think, well, if I'm not going to go to the gym for an hour and do like an hour session, I might as well do nothing. I literally 10 minutes can change your whole day in movement. And you can just start to work up towards it. Just give yourself that gift of love this year, which is just working towards moving more.
Yeah. And that's not only going to, both of those that you chose are not only going to go so far for your physical health, but also your emotional health.
So we both know how much that's true, right? And you have some very personal stories about that, but it really is. Exercise is more for, or as much for, your mental health, I think, that it is for your body.
Yeah, beyond how your body looks or what you want it to look like or any of those things, or what it's going to do just for you physically, or if you want to manage your weight, whatever it is, what it does for you emotionally and even for your brain health. I mean, one of the most important things you can do for brain health is to move your body every day. Yeah. And that could just be a 10, 15-minute walk, but honestly, that has such a big impact.
Bonus points if you lift weights as a midlife woman, because we want to develop lean muscle mass, and it gets harder to do as we get older. It just does.
Absolutely.
Fortunately, but the more muscle that you carry, the higher your metabolism, the better your metabolism, the more you're going to, balance your blood sugar.
Yep.
And by the way, the more you can eat. Mm-hmm. You can, when you are building muscle, when you're breaking down muscle.
I like how you whispered that.
I know, because it's a secret. I'm not telling you to overeat, but you can, when you're lifting weights, you're in that anabolic state where you're breaking down and building back up. And that takes a lot of energy. So you get to eat a little bit more to support that. Hopefully that's more protein. And it's balanced with some carbohydrate, but when, that's what stimulates your metabolism.
Right. So the takeaways there is you're heading into the new year. If you're still working on putting together some of your goals, a couple of good goals there, if you're looking at and you know that you need to work on your blood sugar, would be to lower your sugar intake. Let's get real, just practical here. Lower overall sugar intake. That doesn't mean just like white refined sweets, but that could also mean carbohydrates, right? So even fruits and grains
breads,
and rice,
cereals,
lower them.
Pastas. All of that.
Make that a goal for you.
Fruits. Did we say fruits?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Beyond that, make sure that you're eating protein with every meal and a good source of fat. if you just started there, that would be great.
And to lower your blood sugar, start on your plate, start with your protein. Give your body a cushion before you throw some sugar into it so that it doesn't spike your blood sugar right away. Eat protein first and then finish with your carbs.
Absolutely. And then second, when we look at moving our body, that it depends on where you're starting. It could be that you just need to commit to moving by walking every day for 10 to 15 minutes and then eventually get yourself to 30 or 45 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Or that could be maybe you've been moving your body, but you need to start lifting weights.
Yes.
So you're going to add a weightlifting routine into maybe it's every other day or 3 days a week or whatever it is. Or maybe you're going to make it a goal that you're going to find a workout that you're going to start to stream and do. But something, it can be, but the problem is we can't just pick something that we're going to do. We also have to put some action steps and get strategic behind it so that it happens.
And it can also be that maybe you work out like this is where I fall a lot of days is I work out, but I also sit for 8 hours a day. And so my goal is to get up and stretch more and move more in between because sitting's the new smoking. Like it really is. It's going to age you faster. It's going to affect your longevity. You need to move your body in between those long periods of sitting. So both of those things I felt, and it sounds like you agree, have a major impact on your hormones.
Yeah, those are, if we were only picking two things, great place to start.
Along with that, if you can get more sleep, go to bed a half hour earlier.
Nothing affects my emotional health more than being sleep deprived.
Right. So true.
It's just unbelievable. So,
and if you're menopausal, maybe you're having those episodes where you're waking up at 3 o'clock at night. So you might need to grab a nap. You might need to put yourself to bed earlier. You might need to take some magnesium.
I can link the magnesium I like in our show notes, but I was going to say that too. Magnesium is huge. It's a simple thing to do. Your body tells you if you're taking too much with loose stools, like it's very safe and very effective. It helps with even digestion as well.
Yeah,
so
it's
sleep.
the most commonly undertaken. I'm looking for the words here. Deficient. That would be the word. It's the most common deficient mineral.
Yes, I've heard that. And it's just stress mineral. So the more stress you're under, the more that leaches out of your system, even if you're getting it in your diet, and the more you need.
Especially coming off Christmas with the sugar and the alcohol, because that will use up your magnesium stores, and so you'll need to supplement even more.
And that would be another one I would say, if we need to work on optimizing our sleep, you got to watch your alcohol intake, especially later at night.
No.
I know.
I know.
It's true, but that might be a goal that you start for yourself this year.
It's true. And you know what? I think that's another thing that becomes self-evident. It was more fun when you were younger, when it didn't have as many negative deleterious effects, I guess. And
right.
And now that you are old and you know that glass of wine before you go to bed or 7 o'clock is going to wake you up at 3 a.m, or you know that you're not going to feel good on a Saturday if you have that second drink, or that you're counting your drinks because you know that too many leads to a cancer risk, higher risk, so all of those things.
It messes with your hormones. I mean, that in and of itself could be a goal for you.
Right.
If you maybe it's not stopping altogether, although good for you if that's what you're going to do, but maybe it's just decreasing the amount that you're drinking.
Absolutely.
That's going to have a huge impact on your physical health and your emotional health.
So good. Lift weights, eat more protein. More than likely, you're not eating enough protein. Unless you're a woman who has done some bodybuilding or some fitness competitions, you're very familiar with eating enough
protein. And you don't have to be doing competitions. You could be just very focused on muscle gain and weightlifting.
Yes.
And already doing all the things.
Cool. So we're not going to talk about purpose. We just wanted to talk about those foundational pieces and reminders. They're just gentle, loving nudges, little reminders to say, here's what you need to do.
Yeah. Well, and I think we were, because normally around this time of year, we are talking about purpose and we're talking about goal setting, which is important. But I think that we just thought, instead of hammering in on the purpose, let's get a little nitty gritty and give a little push for, we've got to work on our emotional health and our physical health as well. We just have to. And there are places you should definitely look at, if you haven't already. We asked you guys to do this, earlier in the year around October, but it's never too late to download our goals framework, and that will be all broken down for you. And there are sections for your physical health, and there are sections for your emotional health, and to write out the things that you are going to do for it. So you really put some stock into this and think through this too. And I think there's so many of us that are feeling lost and a sense of needing purpose. At least that's what you're telling us, since the kids are growing up. And yes, we do need to find that, but some of it you're feeling that because you're just not feeling your best self, or because your hormones are out of balance, or because you're a little anxious, or whatever it is. So, if that's what's causing your sense of unease or feeling lost, then seek your purpose all day long. You're not getting at the root cause. So they all work together. Once again, it's not one or the other. It's all of them.
It's intertwined
in combination. So,
yeah.
And I love the tips, because the other thing we don't want to do is overwhelm you with like all of the things.
Well, and I wish that we're able to come to you every time we have this conversation with these groundbreaking, amazing, innovative, like new tips. And it always comes back to common sense. I mean, the human body is pretty predictable in that if you give it good food, if you move it the way it's designed to move, if you give it sunlight, good thinking, good positive mindset, you're going to get, there's a few other things I'm missing in there too, but you're going to get a good outcome. And so it is all pretty foundational. And that's the good news. If you do feel overwhelmed, just keep as your North Star the fact of like, is this something my grandmother would have eaten? Is this something going back, is this something, I'm not going to say,
here we go.
I'm not going to say caveman. But is this something that, our ancestors would put in their body, and think about that too with just products, and, but start simple. And
I think, in other words, what you're saying is,
please help me out here.
I'm going to help you out, because I know what you're trying to say, and it just has been a long day.
Sometimes
I think what you're trying to say is the more whole the food is and the less processed it is, the better.
See, that's why.
Yes.
That's why she's
so
my partner.
When you're
the brilliant Dr. Brooke,
not eating, oh, that's sweet of you. But when you're not eating out of a box, and you're eating things that you are cooking or buying directly from the store, not things that somebody else made but you made, that's always a safer and healthier choice.
Yeah.
And I have to be careful thinking about eating what my grandmother ate, because she was baking and cooking with Crisco all day long. And newsflash, I hope you all know that you shouldn't be eating Crisco, but if you don't, don't eat it. The trans fat is one of the worst things for your health. Anyway.
And you might slip and fall, and that's okay. You just,
because the Crisco's on the floor and it's greasy.
That was fast.
Well, for a second, I thought that's where you were going. I was like, oh no, she's being serious.
No, I mean, you might slip up and go back to we're all going to do that. We live in the modern world, but I think when you consistently are able to go back to it, so you mess up on a weekend, you get back to it on Monday, and the longer period of time that you go back to it and you repeat and repeat and repeat, eventually you're start to see yourself as somebody who cares about their health, and your identity shifts along with it, and you make better and better choices. It's cool
I could not agree with you more. It's so true. So give yourself grace, but that's why this time of year it's good to circle back and talk about this, because it's a good time for a reset. And I also want to mention to you, it might be time for you to join the Life After Kids membership group, because that's a great place to be held accountable. And there's places for us to talk about all different things, but we have sections where you can talk about what you're doing for stress management and emotional health, and what you're doing for physical health. And we do live calls where we can talk through these things and help you answer some of those questions as well. So last thing I would say also is that if you know that you're having hormonal issues and you want to do something about it, there are so many different things you can do, but always start with a hormone testing. I love the Dutch test. Because if you don't test, you're guessing, and you never want to guess with your hormones. Yeah. You just don't. But that could definitely be a root cause for a lot of the way you're feeling.
If you think that's the cause of how you're feeling, and you need to get to the bottom of it, that's great advice.
Yeah, I think we should never discount that when we're talking about physical and emotional health at this age.
All right.
Am I taking it home? You've had enough. Let's wrap it up. All right, ladies.
That's so mean.
Thank you so much for joining us. I wish you, from myself and Dr. Lynn a very, very happy and festive new year. We hope that you're having a blast with your family and that you're bringing in the new year in a special or fun or memorable way. And take this to heart and take some time with the goals framework and get some things together, get a list of some things that you're going to do to work on your emotional health and physical health. I know that's always at the top of my list is those things. So I'm excited to get through that. I already have some things cooking. Dr. Lynn has been on me to start lifting more weights. So we'll see if maybe that's going to happen this year. We have a whole gym in the house. We moved. Fingers crossed, Dr. Lynn is saying. But make sure you're following us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I mentioned the membership, the Life After Kids membership group. Take a look if you need some more friendship, networking, accountability, if you want to get on live calls with us. Reach out to us via DM if there's something that you would like for us to talk about or give us feedback. We always welcome it. This community is for you. It's for all of us. We're all in the same place right now, trying to do our best for ourselves and our families. And www.lifeafterkids.com is the website where you'll find all of our resources, including the Find Your Purpose quiz.
Awesome. All right, go make this year the best one yet. Big Happy New Year hugs to you.